Minnesota Vikings could and should be in the market for the future franchise quarterback come next April in the 2021 NFL Draft, although they should have been looking every single year, but I digress there. Could Ohio State's Justin Fields be atop of the Vikings wish list? It's a possibility. So let's talk about the Buckeye today. Background: Justin Fields, 21 years young, 6'3", 228, a former 5-star recruit from Kennesaw, Georgia. Now, he was the number 2 overall recruit in the 2018 class. Number 1, Trevor Lawrence. And both of them played high school ball in Georgia, which is just insane. It's amazing that Georgia was able to keep one of them in state, and now they're both out of state, but that's just Georgia and Georgia. As well as, even though Trevor Lawrence got all the hype in that class, Justin Fields was the number 8 overall recruit of all time per the recruiting site 24/7. So he, of course, got overshadowed, but this is a historic all-time recruit. Bulldogs were able to keep him in state, at least for a hot second. Fields did play in 12 games as a true freshman in spot duty behind incumbent Jake Fromm State Farm. The Bulldogs then decided to commit to Jake Fromm, who ended up being the 5th-round pick by the Bills in the spring's draft for the 2019 season. And then also with Fields, so there was an incident with a Georgia baseball player where said player called Fields a racial slur at a game, which is just obviously less than ideal. Fields decided to take his talents elsewhere and got immediate eligibility, citing that incident. Got some lawyers involved and was able to, because the NCAA... the NCAA is a joke anyway, so there should be no sit-out rules. Kids should be able to transfer whenever the hell they want, but that's another argument for another day. But Fields was able to take the field for Ohio State as a true sophomore, taking the place of Dwayne Haskins, who was a first-round pick by Washington, and does not look like it's working out, but... Yeah, but Fields then responded with one of the greatest seasons in college football history. And again, he just gets overshadowed. In recruiting, it was Trevor Lawrence. In the draft, could be Trevor Lawrence. And then last year in college football season, he's got overshadowed by Joe Burrow. But Fields absolutely balled, completed 67.2% of his passes, 3,273 yards passing, 41 touchdowns, only 3 picks, and a robusto 181.4 quarterback rating. Also, no slouch as a runner. He bulldozed for 484 yards on the ground, plus 10 touchdowns. Led Ohio State to an undefeated season before ultimately falling in the college football playoffs to Clemson. Again, just overshadowed by Trevor Lawrence. But the accolades: Fields was a first-team All-Big Ten, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, as well as Quarterback of the Year, second-team All-American behind Joe friggin' Burrow, as well as was third in the Heisman voting behind LSU's Joe Burrow, who's, of course, built and made by Justin Jefferson, but as well as Oklahoma transfer quarterback Jalen Hurts, who's now with the Eagles. So Big Ten season is coming back after former Vikings COO Kevin Warren and now current Big Ten commissioner was like, all right, have football. So I think Fields will greatly benefit whatever the Big Ten season ends up looking. And I think he'll do great. I think he is a lot like Trevor Lawrence in that there's not really much to prove. Same thing with Trey Lance, although Lance does, of course, have small school level competition questions. But, I mean, this is going to be a fantastic quarterback class because I think there's a big 3 with Lawrence and Lance and Justin Fields, as well as there could be probably a dozen quarterbacks drafted in the first 5 rounds this year, and that wouldn't necessarily be an overestimate either. But pros with Justin Fields, he's got a freakish combo of size and speed. Of course, that's 6'3", borderline 230. Plus, he reportedly ran a 4.38 40, which is, pretty good. So think of a slightly smaller Cam Newton, but still compact, muscular, and just packs a punch, but also one that runs a 4.4 instead of the 4.6 of Cam Newton. Plus accuracy. Pinpoint, drops dimes, throws with a decent anticipation. Also pushes the ball downfield at 11.2 yards per attempt. So this isn't the dink and dunk, blah blah blah, gadgety college offense. Like, he is legit pushing the ball down the field. Takes care of the ball when he's throwing. It's important that we say throwing. So, like we said, 41 touchdowns, 3 picks. Cons, 11 fumbles. So he does turf it. Does have some awareness issues, and that plays into his pocket awareness as well. It's extremely less than ideal. It's a little bit Kirk Cousins adjacent, which should raise some red flags. He does seem to get stuck on a couple reads or staring downfield, waiting for something to open up, or he just doesn't realize that pressure is coming around him. Did have 31 sacks at Ohio State last year, and Ohio State State always has good offensive linemen. And also, it's not like he's behind a bunch of slappies at Georgia either. So what happens if and when he's in the National Football League and has some adversity or has a bad offensive line in front of him? So you do kind of wonder there, because that's not something you can necessarily coach, because you look at Kirk Cousins, that's been his issue ever since Washington. It's been his issue in Minnesota, and that doesn't really get better, even though you know that it's necessarily the problem. All right. Also, is he a product of the Ohio State system? Now, NFL level talent all around him. It can be tough to decipher, and you do have this problem at all the major college schools. But also, you shouldn't penalize a good player just because he plays with good players. But is this similar to Dwayne Haskins? Now, we're a big advocate of scout the player, not the helmet. But it's hard not to draw comparisons to his predecessor. So Haskins, was he good because he's good, or was he good because he had all day to throw and his receivers always got 15 yards separation? I think Washington is finding out right now it may be the latter as opposed to the former. But Justin Fields is intriguing. A big body quarterback, got that big arm as well. I think that some of the early comparisons between he and Justin Herbert, just in terms of frame and arm strength and accuracy and ability to move, although Herbert is obviously not as fast as Fields, I think that's apropos. And so he's super intriguing, as well as you throw in Trey Lance. You have two extremely athletic, great arms in the draft, plus Trevor Lawrence might be the best draft prospect since John Elway. So this is a hell of a quarterback class. But I do think there are tiers. I think Lawrence is still 1-1-1, and it's not really that close right now. I think Lance and Fields will be vying for the number 2 spot. Maybe a guy like Kyle Trask or even like Mac Jones who's able to get their way into the first round conversation as well. And if you look at the top of the draft, so you got the Giants and the Jets, and they just recently drafted quarterbacks in Sam Darnold 2018, Danny Dimes in 2019. I think the Jets certainly would be in on a quarterback, probably Trevor Lawrence if they get the number 1 overall pick. Giants, I don't know, because Gettleman was the guy who drafted Daniel Jones. Maybe they go a different direction. I'm not sure about the Falcons, although they will have a new GM in place. Matt Ryan will be 36 next year. So it's perhaps they go quarterback. Chargers got Herbert. Dolphins got Tua. Bengals have Burrow. Eagles have Carson Wentz, as well as they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round. So they're probably out on quarterback. Washington, I think, will be in. Jacksonville, I think Minshew Mania sort of run its course, as well as the Lions. Matthew Stafford ain't getting any younger, as well as there could be a regime change in Detroit as well. They may want their own guy, their quarterback of the future. So it's going to be tough. Because like we said, the Vikings are probably the best 1-4 team in NFL history. So I could see a spot where the Vikings, even if they do miss the playoffs, are drafting in that late teens, perhaps early 20s area if they do make the playoffs. So it's going to be a little bit tough, because I think Fields is probably going to be a top 5 pick. I think there's a good chance that he's the second quarterback off the board. He might be the number 2 overall pick, just right behind Trevor Lawrence. Just stupid Lawrence overshadowing him again. But I think that he does have a lot of upside. The awareness issues is super concerning, and that could ultimately be his downfall, despite all those other massive positives about him. That could be his Achilles heel, is that pocket awareness. But we'll see what happens there. But overall, great prospect. Is going to be very highly drafted, and we'll see if he gets it done. But your thoughts? Justin Fields? Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work? Post on the Venmo. But until next time, Skull Production Value.